Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
Okay, here we go again. Back in the lab. Last week we discussed whether pain in training is good or bad, and if there's a level that would be beneficial for people if they're getting started or they're advanced. And this week we're keeping with the same topic, but we're switching the context to nutrition, right? How uncomfortable or painful should your nutrition or diet approach be if you want to see results, and all the things that go into that. So, when somebody says like, follow this diet and you'll love every minute of it, you'll never have to feel deprived ever again, and you're going to lose a ton of weight. What are they really saying? Are they being honest? And so that I think is a good topic. Was that a topic that came from a question that somebody asked, or that's just your fabulous mind?
That was my fabulous mind extrapolating off of the topic that we did last week, because I thought that nobody really talks about this very often when you're talking about a nutrition program. And of course, all the marketing you see out there is selling it to you in a way that makes it feel like this should be a no-brainer. This should be easy. Just go do it.
Just go do it. Just go do it. Is that trademarked by Nike? If you just go, go,
legal,
do it, legal. Okay. Yes. And I was listening to a book recently, which was, one of the examples. It was a marketing kind of sales book, and one of the examples used was like how to sell people on nutrition programs. And the framework was, okay, well, you got to take away as many obstacles to eating healthy that you could possibly think of. Answer every single problem somebody has when it comes to eating healthy. So that's got to be involved in today's conversation. Is like, well, what are the there's pain points for people to eating healthy that have nothing to do with the taste of the broccoli.
Right.
It's expensive to buy the stuff. I got to go and shop for the ingredients. I got to actually make time to cook the stuff. Unfortunately, the current state of affairs in the Western world, and let's say the United States, or where I think the majority of our listeners live, is that food convenience, and what the easiest thing to consume out there is the least likely to make you look really fantastic and naked, right? Like somebody who wants to improve their physique, feel more confident in their clothes, have them fit better, be better in the gym, have better energy. All the foods and the diet stuff that would support that is harder than the stuff that makes it difficult to achieve those results. And I think that that's just kind of like universally true amongst most of the cultures and the societies people that we're speaking to live in. Does that mean that it's impossible to make the optimal choice, the better choice, the quote unquote healthier choice? Is it impossible to make that doable and easier and less painful? No, it's certainly possible to do that. It's just, it takes work. So if somebody's telling you, hey, this is going to be the easiest thing in your life, it's like, well, maybe they've solved all the problems, but just like putting on muscle, you got to go do the reps. You got to go, and you can't get jacked biceps by just visualizing them getting bigger. You actually have to go do physical, mechanical, stressful, painful work. And if you want really big biceps, you better be ready to do some drop sets of curls that make you want to throw up. Literally throw up from doing curls. That's a thing. So same thing with I want to be 2% body fat. It's okay, well, you better be ready to be starving for a period of time and still go and lift weights and do the whole bodybuilding thing. Now, that's not what most people listening want. They don't want to be 2%. They're I just want to be 15 to 20% body fat, and, shouldn't be hard. It's no, it's it's still going to be a little uncomfortable relative to where you are, right? Because it's always a matter of like gauging what's your starting place and where you're trying to go. And if this is what you've done always to get this body, then to get a different body, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. How uncomfortable should it be?
And I think people would appreciate knowing what it takes to maintain a certain look or a certain level of body fat percentage over the long term, because people are willing to put up with some suffering to get a short-term result. And okay, yeah, I'm going to do a really intense focus period of my nutrition, and I know I'm going to be hungry, and I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I can buy into that because I know it's a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this result for my wedding or whatever. But I think people don't necessarily have a sense of how uncomfortable is it to maintain a low percentage of body fat or a lean look, a lean muscular look year round.
Right. Well, it's unfortunately, I believe not every single person listening today listened last week to our episode, but you take what is your like, what have you done consistently for the last 100 days? Probably doesn't feel like that hard to you at all. But when you first started to implement those behaviors, it probably felt hard. And I talked about the Lance Armstrong example. It's like he was this competitive cyclist for decades, and in the last 7 years of that run, he was the world's best, and he was the world's best at cycling, but really that just meant like he was the world's best at just suffering up on the mountains and racing faster than other people. Drugs and performance enhancers aside, like they were all doing drugs. He was still better than everybody else. And but did he feel like that was daily? Like, how painful was that for him to sustain that? It's like, well, he was just in it. He was just doing it. He worked super hard. It was hard, I'm sure, every year, but it wasn't like the maintenance level of that versus getting there probably was maybe different, and at least perceived on his end, I'm in it. I'm just going to stay on top. And that would be sort of what I would say to somebody who's like, to get lean, it was really hard. To maintain it, or to maintain a lifestyle that supports leanness, that's just about putting in the reps and being consistent and having discipline. And over time, it truly does become easier. It doesn't, not because like it's not as hard, it's because your brain's perception of it changes. Like I eat vegetables every day, and I have for years, that's just what I do. I can't even fathom going back to college when I would have a hoagie at lunch. I would have a hot dog from the hot dog stand at dinner, and then I would have donuts, when I went out, after the bars. It's just, I cannot fathom that because I'm so far from that. I'm in a different lifestyle. So the trip to get there is going to be hard and painful to make these changes. And whether they feel good immediately or not, the feeling good and the seeing immediate results is motivating and it keeps you going, but it's still challenging, and there's still going to be some discomfort and some pain along the way to get there.
So what types of discomfort do you think are to be expected if someone has done the focused, difficult part of getting lean in the first place, and now they're more in the mode of, I've built some consistent habits, I've made eating vegetables just a part of my routine, and I don't have to work as hard to do that. I probably crave fresh foods a little bit more, but there's still a difference between that experience and I can eat whatever I want whenever I want. There's zero effort involved, zero thought.
Well, I want to actually turn this one around because I think you're uniquely qualified to answer this question in a way. And here's my take on it. When I met you've always, since I've known, you've always had a lean physique. You've built muscle since I've met you, but you had muscle when I met you. And you self-reported not the best nutrition habits. You kind of ate whatever, it was snacks here and there that were not optimal, Reese peanut butter cups on the reg. That might even still happen from time to time, it's like, but that I've also seen you develop the habits, be really consistent with your diet. So I think And that's like, and you weren't motivated by like, I got to get lean, I got to get ripped. So as somebody who was able to have a physique with the suboptimal nutrition, and then was aiming to like develop optimal nutrition for other reasons like performance, well-being, mental clarity, sharpness, etc. How do you answer that question that you would pose to me?
Yeah. I always wonder for myself what the component is of just having not had to ever do a really, really focused time to get lean. It's not like I haven't put in work, because I certainly have. And there have been dramatic changes in my level of activity that have led to me being more of like I'll call it like a skinny fat type into like a more muscular type. But I didn't have to do like a really big dramatic change. These were more things that happened over time. And so I think that is just part of my personal answer as something being really key, is just that having a long-term view of change, I think, has been very important to my success, because I'm not the kind of person who enjoys suffering nutrition wise at all. I don't like to do diets. I don't like to restrict myself. I don't even like to count macros unless I'm really working on a particular focus. Like I need to know how much protein I'm getting so I can make sure that that's adequate in my diet. Yeah. So I think that as someone who prefers things much more on a comfort scale, it's been very helpful for me to just go super, super slow. And so slow, in fact, that I kind of feel like nothing's really changed at all until I look back at what I was eating 2-3 years ago on a regular basis and how different things are now. And I can see, oh, I've really actually changed quite a bit about how I approach those.
Yeah. So bringing up this idea of like the pace that people want to experience change, it's probably going to correlate pretty closely to the level of discomfort and pain or friction that they feel within their diet. Hey, I want to get lean super fast. Okay, you're going to have to make dramatic changes, which your body and your brain are going to fight against. If you go slowly, much more slowly, like let's say, hey, my goal is at the end of this year, I'm eating, one salad a day. Okay, well, we got 12 months to get there. So let's just we're going to start with one salad a week. And then we're going to start with then we're going to move to 2 salads a week. And then we're going to, every couple months, and then by the end of the year, you're at 7 salads a week, right? And so that obviously, if you're not motivated, or if you don't desire to have rapid change, or you really know that you just won't deal with the friction of making big changes quickly, then that can be one approach. But I think a lot of people are looking for something a little faster than that. They don't need to crash diet for 3 weeks to look great on the beach, or maybe they want to, whatever, but they're looking for something a little bit quicker. So where are they likely to see some challenges once in getting there? But then once they've gotten there, okay, like you said, I can deal with just doing this for 30 days and just suffer through it. But what are some of those behaviors inside the 30 days that if you want to extend it out for a year are going to be more challenging? Something that comes to mind for me is consuming protein, and that's one that you could probably speak to, eating fresh vegetables daily, and probably getting enough variety to not lose interest in your food. So those are the 3 things that I think make for true sustained results and longevity in nutrition, which I'm thinking about okay, that's how I do that very habitually now, but it's the part that I've put the most emphasis on creating routine in, because I know it has the biggest impact. Every week, I make sure to prepare more than enough protein from animal sources, because that's my preferred source, in the fridge from different, a variety of different animals. It's always ready. I wake up each day and I do not need to worry about it. And if I wake up for some reason and it's not there, I've got a carton of eggs, a carton of egg whites, and canned tuna that is ready to whip up into something. Like, I will not have to spend more than 3 minutes making sure I have 50 grams of protein on my plate or in my Tupperware to go to the gym. That's not something that everyone does. And it takes a little bit of planning. It takes a little bit of know-how. And even if you're like, I know how to get to the store and go grab some protein, driving to the store, going to the hot food section of Whole Foods or whatever grocery store you go to, picking it out, that's a time investment. That resource is very precious for most people. And they're going to find themselves in a situation where it's not that, like they don't have the time to do it. So when you don't have adequate protein on hand to make a meal, then the alternative sources of calories when you're hungry are carbs and fat combined, have a different impact on your satiation feedback loops for your brain and your gut and your energy levels and your recovery and your muscle protein synthesis. And it doesn't support this feedback loop of being lean long term. So that's just number one. And it's like, if everybody woke up each day and the first thing that they did was like, I need to eat 150 grams of protein. Let me just take that out of the fridge or grab it and it's right there on my counter. At the end of the day, this has all got to be gone. That would be a huge win. And that would be like a really important step for, now people think like, oh, that's just weird. Like, that's not like how people eat. It's like, well, I think that's arguable. It's like the way people eat, what's normal is not necessarily like in line with your biochemistry and what your body needs. You're trying to like fit into a societal norm that isn't giving you what you want in terms of like body, feeling, looks, performance, health results. So why not try and why don't we try and like change what that norm is and, create, even for 6 out of the 7 days a week, like create this standard that you live by that is going to support some of these longer term goals that you have. Pause there for a second. So was that even like, did that make sense and was relative to our topic?
It did. And it brought up another thought for me, which is that when we're talking about the pain or the discomfort of following a nutrition plan that's going to get you closer to your goals, I think that something that occurred to me was that there's also a mental pain and discomfort around having to do something that is just different than what you're used to.
Yeah.
And I know I've seen people viscerally react to the posts that you make about eating a lot of protein for breakfast, a dinner looking meal or a lunch looking meal first thing in the morning. People are like, oh, what? I could never do that. Or, oh, that's so foreign to me. And I'm also thinking about this time when there was actually a thread on Reddit in the women's fitness section where people were talking about this very question, and I had forgotten about it until just now, but someone had asked, how uncomfortable is it to maintain a low percentage of body fat? And I shared my experience where it's actually quite easy. It feels like it doesn't feel like a painful process or uncomfortable process day to day to day. But if I would have done the things that if I would have taken the things that I was doing years ago and then just flipped that switch to what I'm doing now, that would be quite uncomfortable because the mental shift is huge to make a leap from something that you have never made part of your rhythm, something that you've never felt before in terms of how your body reacts to satiation when you have adequate protein and when you're eating vegetables and when you're naturally craving that more. And so I think that that's also key to talk about when we're talking about nutrition, because a huge amount of nutrition work is inner work around your reactions and your perceptions.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think early on, this was like when I was trying to adopt some of these behaviors that would lead to success in my body composition, my performance, that went against sort of more societal norms or like, how people tend to feed themselves. It always triggered the people close to me, like, oh my God, how do you, like, and that feedback when you're in the early stages and you haven't anchored those habits yourself can make you doubt, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe I'm like crazy, or maybe there's something wrong with me, or hey, these people are trying to sabotage what I'm trying to accomplish here. And I definitely dealt with a lot of that early on. And now, somebody's like, I could never do that. Like, it doesn't faze me one bit. I don't be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. I'm like, okay, well, maybe someday you'll get there, maybe you won't. Like, I'm just showing you one way, right? I'm not here to convince every single person. But yeah, it's adopting behaviors that might not make sense in what is considered normal. But we have to remember that what is considered normal is influenced tremendously by big business that is selling you food that they want to make a profit on. And they make a bigger profit on things that have higher margin, and higher margin means lower cost. And like, or I guess they could go the premium route, but if they're trying to like hit mass market, it's like they're looking for lower, what can they get their hands on a lot of? Sugar. And then they can mark it up a ton because it's like addictive and it tastes amazing. And so that's how they're going to make a profit. And so they're telling you like, hey, breakfast is supposed to be like a bowl of cereal, whole wheat toast, a glass of orange juice. A bar, yeah. A skinny shake, like, which is just all these raw ingredients that were waste products. They have this extra whey. They have this extra sunflower oil. They have this extra dextrose. They have this extra stuff that is just in big piles at the factory. They're like, oh, if we just mix this together and add a bunch of sweetener to it, boom, we can make a shake. People are going to buy that. They're going to love it. So that's what's normal. I can't have that. I got to have just like eggs and toast for breakfast. I got to have oatmeal. It's like, well, you got to have it because you were told early on that that's what you're supposed to have. If like they were making big bucks off of like, asparagus and a steak for breakfast, like everybody in America would be eating that. Plus there was the whole like, period of time where, and this could have been closely funded by, big agriculture and big sugar, but that like, hey, meat's bad for your health, so you don't eat that. You eat whole grain toast for breakfast every day, with a big old glass of orange juice and a muffin, and you're good to go. So anyhow, I do want to circle back to like my 3 points. It was like making sure you're getting adequate protein, getting fresh vegetables. Now that's an area that's like people just don't understand completely. Like how do you get shout out to the 800 gram challenge. E.C. Sinkowski, she has I can't think of her actual company name, but she has a challenge out there, which is basically like eat 800 grams of fresh fruit and vegetables every day. That's the whole challenge. Don't worry about all the macros and the this and the that. You'll get there. But if you get in that much fresh produce every day, there's, and she's shown it repeatedly with a lot of different people, like there's a huge value to how that impacts the health of your gut, the maintenance of calories, getting good energy balance, fiber, digestive health, like everything. And I think that is still, why is it a challenge to get 800 grams of produce? Because it's really crazy for most people to think about that. Oh, what? Like the side salad you have at lunch with like a little bit of lettuce and a couple cucumbers and tomatoes is like 200 grams.
Yeah.
All right. It's like, how are you going to get 4 of those a day? Most people aren't. One of my little salads that I make each day or several days a week has like 1,000 grams of produce in it. And that's just one meal. And I do that at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's like, did I start there? No, I built up to it. Is it necessary? No, it's not necessary, but I like it. And it works for me and it satiates me and I crave it more. And it's food volume that helps me feel full for longer. And, I don't feel like I'm eating, 2 little skinny, sticks of something and that's my whole meal. It's like I have a whole bowl of food in front of me. So the positive impacts that eating more fruits and vegetables can have are helping to lower your total caloric load for the day, helping you to feel more satiated, getting more, vitamins and minerals into your diet, and improving dramatically your digestive health and, your digestion overall, which if people have listened to the Gut Check Challenge or the gut health episodes that we've done, that can be really dramatically impactful on your mental state, as well as, your body composition from a number of different angles that are not just about calories in and calories out. So learning how to do that in a day is, something that people have to learn. And any diet that's out there that people go through for 30 days to try and shred or get, lean, there's usually an emphasis on eating some like vegetables or vegetable juices or something like that, but just getting some vegetables in. It's like, okay, well, now you got to do that forever, right? You got to eat vegetables forever. You got to eat a salad a day or whatever, whatever it might be. And so learning how to actually make that a routine, just like having adequate protein every day, that's a challenge. And then the last one I mentioned was just the variety. If you want to do something for 30 days to get really lean, do the same thing every day, repeat it over and over and over and over again, makes it so much easier. If you try and have 5 different recipes that you're going to rotate every single day and time it this way, it's like, no, if you want to get super lean and you don't want to have to think about it because you're going to be in pain and suffering enough because you're in a caloric deficit, find a food delivery company that delivers the calories that are going to get you lean in 3 packaged meals that are there every day. Nothing changes. You do the same thing every day for 30 days. That's probably the best way to do it. If you want to maintain it for the rest of your life, that is the worst way to do it, because you are going to get bored out of your mind of those meals. You're going to get malnourished in some way. You're going to be missing some variety. Your digestive health is going to go to shit. You're going to become allergic to the foods that you're eating over and over and over again, because that's how the body works. You have eggs every single day. After 3 years, you're allergic to eggs, kind of thing. So what gets you there versus what gets you going for a long time, that's where things need to shift. And it's why we coach and preach so much about variation, variety, learning to rotate foods. It's not the first thing you should learn, though, right? Because that makes it hard. It's like, don't give me like, the food plan. Like the thing that blows my mind is like, here's a 30-day food plan that's going to get you to like lose a bunch of weight. And there's 30 days and every day is a different meal and a different recipe and a different thing. I'm like, who the hell can actually do that? Like, I would have a hard time, and I'm very skilled in the kitchen and I've done this for a long time, to make 30 days of different meals. At most, it should be like Monday through Friday, you eat this. On the weekends, you eat this. Do it for 5 weeks. Go. Like, and even that's, maybe too much variation, because on the weekends, people like, oh, I get to do something different. And then it's like, oh, it's Monday. I got to go back to the thing. It's like, no, just do the same thing for 30 days and then figure it out from there. But we have to introduce the concept of variety if you want to sustain for a long time. If you want to be lean year round, like, I'm sorry, but, you cannot eat the same exact thing every single day unless you're the one out of a million robot that's out there. And there's plenty of them out there. I mean, not plenty of them. There's a small percentage of them out there, but they're out there. So people might see like, well, I saw so-and-so and they eat the same thing every single day. I just want to do that. I'm like, well, maybe your brain doesn't function like that. Maybe it doesn't work in that way.
Yeah. And if you think about people who are on those super specific diets for the last weeks of their bodybuilding competition prep, that is the extreme of pain that we are trying to avoid here. You don't want to be eating tilapia and broccoli every single meal.
Yeah.
That's not going to be working for you.
Yes. And it's like, and I guess the only way I would like edit that is like, if you want to experience that level of pain because you really want to go there, just know what you're doing and know. And, I've spoken to you about this recently, but my mission with this, with what I do is to teach people so that they don't have to make the same mistakes I made. And that's every aspect of health and fitness. When I first got lean, the first time I got my abs, I told you this. It was a really poorly executed egg white omelet with a American cheese single in the morning with tomatoes, and it was just soggy. It was cottage cheese with protein powder and Fruit Loops post-workout. It was 2 pieces of spelt bread with an American cheese single on it and a can of tuna. It was 2 soggy salads for dinner that were wet and had a bad dressing on it and had tuna and chicken breast and too much mustard on it, and a protein shake. And I did that every day. And I was a robot. And I got lean. I saw results. I was like, this is amazing. It's so good. I don't care that this tastes like crap. But I got to keep doing this forever, right? This is it. This is what gets me lean. This is the only thing. Oh my God, I'm like craving something else. I ate a big jar of peanut butter with something, and oh my God, I hate myself. I'm a fucking failure. I got to go back to the cottage cheese. I got to get back on the thing and do the thing. And that was my life.
Yep.
I had no concept that there was another way. And that's what I was saying. It's like, hey, if you want to go there, if I want to get super lean and feel shredded for spring break and whatever, that was what I was into, then know that was a defined period of time. And that afterwards, I'm going to have to change the game, because I'm not going to be able to do the, soggy salad diet for the rest of my life. It's just not possible. And I think a lot of people believe that they do the 30-day challenge, they push themselves to the limit, and then they're like, okay, this is the only way I can have this. And it's like, maybe not. Making that shift to long-term thinking, it's like, maybe it's these 3 buckets that we talked about. It's like prioritize protein, prioritize vegetables, prioritize variety, do that consistently, right? And then inject enough of like the treats or the, break from routine that you stay mentally into the process. So yeah. Yeah.
I think going slow is key.
Yeah. And if you're open to, foregoing the short-term results because you want to have long-term success, then that is a good way to go. Or if it's like, hey, by the end of the year, I want to be here, I'm going to do it in these little short bursts. I'm going to have a little burst, and I'm going to try and learn some maintenance, and my body's going to adjust. And then I'm going to do a little burst, and then I'm going to adjust.
Yep.
And that's another potential way to do it.
Yeah, just so long as you recognize the place that each has.
Exactly. Yeah. So if, in summary, to change your body, to change your behaviors around dieting, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like painless. Even taking out regular Coke and bringing in a, fruit juice, like that's hard for people. And so making those like one-time adjustments or like one part adjustments to your diet can be painful. And the reason being is that, to move from less healthy or less optimal to more optimal or more healthy behaviors within dieting, you have to work against a system that's really designed to keep you over here. It's to keep you picking up the easy to access sweet things, low in protein, low in nutrients, not a lot of vegetables, right? So you're going to have to fight against that. You're going to have to fight against the behaviors and what felt normal to you before. And there's likely going to be a caloric shift, likely a deficit. You're going to have to eat less to experience it. And hunger is a pain friction point for people. I don't want to feel hungry. I've lived in this world where there's always abundance of food, and I never feel hungry. It's like, well, to lose weight, you have to feel hungry for a period of time. So that's painful. So there's going to be some pain. If you want to have extreme results, you're going to have to experience more pain. Just like you want to have extreme amounts of muscle, you're going to have to really get painful in the gym. That's likely not sustainable. So if you want to go the sustainable route, it's find that discomfort, challenging things to change, and implement behaviors or discipline that helps you implement those new changes of cooking some protein, getting some vegetables every week for the next year into your lifestyle.
Boom.
End scene. Boom. Anything else?
No, I think that was awesome.
Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. I hope that helped. If you have any comments or questions, shoot us a DM or drop something in the comments on whatever platform you're listening to this on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.